Alright, this is John Colo with DiscountJuicers.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you. Today we're actually not going to talk about some of the equipment, some of the juicers that DiscountJuicers.com provides to you guys so that you guys can get more fresh fruits and vegetables in you. What we're going to do today instead is share my opinions and what I believe the 10 juicing do's and don'ts. Now there's many different videos on YouTube about juicing, and in my opinion, some of the people in some of the videos just don't get the facts correct. And so I want to basically share my opinions on this subject, how I live my life based on the research that I've done on how to do juicing the healthiest way possible. Because I got into juicing to build my health, and I know many of you guys are getting into juicing to, build your health, regain your health, have more energy, and to lose weight. And yes, it can do all those things, but there are things that you definitely want to look out for. So in this video, I'm going to share the top 10 do's and don'ts about juicing with you guys so that you guys can be successful the first time. So let's get started. Number 1, you do not want to drink the same juice recipe every single day. Day in, day out. It's like that movie that you guys may have seen, Groundhog Day. Back in the day, they had that movie Groundhog Day. The dude woke up every day, and every day was exactly the same. Guess what? Things that are exactly the same get boring over time, man. Variety is the spice of life. Besides that, the reason why I say you want to switch things up is because in each different fruit and vegetable, I got cantaloupes, oranges, collard greens, celery, romaine lettuce, carrots, and apples on the table today. There's a whole spectrum of different nutrients in each different plant. Now there's phytochemicals and antioxidants, vitamins and minerals, which are all the good things. And some plants like, collard greens and other things may have some anti-nutrients as well. Maybe goitrogenous compounds, maybe oxalates, or maybe some other things that aren't so healthy for us. And yes, even if grown organically, the foods naturally contain these because they're in there to protect the plant from getting eaten from bugs and animals in the wild, because everything wants to reproduce, including all of us. That's the number one goal of life, is to reproduce so that we can carry on the succession. So by juicing something different every day, you're going to minimize, the toxins in spinach, which are like the oxalates. And many people say you can't digest oxalates or they're not so good for you. Well, you know what? In high amounts, like if you juice spinach every single day, which I do not recommend you guys do, not optimal in my opinion. I would rather eat spinach today or juice it today, and then tomorrow do some romaine lettuce, which actually has low oxalates, if any. And then, do some collard greens the following day, then do bok choy, then do some escarole, then do some wild greens such as stinging nettle or lamb's quarters or chickweed. There's so many different greens on the planet, and we want to rotate through them all. Even, some days I might do, my base of the juice might be celery. Some days I don't have celery, so I'll use cucumbers. Some days I might use carrots. Some days I won't. By rotating your diet, you're doing two things. Number 1, you're actually getting a lot of different nutrients and phytochemicals from different foods, which your body may need. And number 2, you're going to reduce the amount of toxins. So I want to include as many different foods into my body as possible, because, every different fruit and vegetable has a whole different set of compounds contained within them. Many people know that tomatoes contain lycopene, which is great, but, some leafy greens contain things like lutein and zeaxanthin, which are really good for your eyes. And, of course, the beta-carotene in the carrots. And, you don't need to research all these different nutrients in each specific food to know them like I do. All you need to know is that if you rotate different foods in and have a different juice every day, you're going to get the benefits of all different kinds of leafy greens instead of the same half a dozen that you're using each day. Number 2, what you don't want to do is you do not want to make your juice and gulp it down. Gulp, gulp, gulp. Like, man, this stuff is so good for me, I got to get it down because it tastes so nasty. And just drink it as fast as you can. In my opinion, that's not optimal. Although drinking a juice as fast as you can is definitely better than drinking a soda as fast as you can. It's not the best thing. So what you want to do instead is you want to, savor that juice. Like if you're a wine connoisseur, my dad was a brandy connoisseur back in the day. He'd smell his brandy, sniff his brandy, take his brandy in his mouth, swish it around, and then finally swallow it, right? He's not just gulping it down, especially brandy is really expensive. And think about it. You're spending the time to juice, hopefully organic produce, maybe even you grew it yourself. You're taking the time to juice it. So why not savor each and every last drop, man? you want to basically drink the juice, put it in your mouth, swish it around. You want to literally chew your juice, and this is what Jay Cordish, formerly known as the Juice Man, taught me. You want to mix your salivary amylase in with the juices because digestion starts in the mouth, not in the, intestines like we're taught. So yeah, swish your juice around, savor it, and then swallow. And one of the things I like to do is actually smell it first, and then drink it, and then swish it around, and then swallow it. And take some time. Don't just do it all really fast, Savor your juice, take some time to drink it, and enjoy it, because it's something that's going to build your health, and it's so good for you. Number 3, in my opinion, you do not want to juice a whole ton of sweet fruits. So, the fruits have naturally occurring sugars, the fruit sugars. And these, in my opinion, are a good thing when you compare them to processed white sugar. Processed white sugar is just basically sugar and with everything else removed. When you're eating, or juicing oranges even, you're getting basically the fruit sugar in much lower amounts, but also water, also things like phytochemicals and phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals in that liquid. So yes, a fruit juice is far better than a soda, a coffee, and other processed drinks, but it's not optimal because it has a lot of sugar. That being said, when I want a quick pick-me-up, I absolutely will juice fruits. But in general, you want to eat your fruits whole or blend them up because we want to retain the fiber with our fruits. I'm personally not blood sugar sensitive. For those that are, this fruit juice is probably a big no-no. Another thing I do want to mention is that carrots, when you juice them, also contain a higher amount of sugar, than some of the other crops, and beets can also have a high sugar content. The root crops store sugar. I mean, that's what they do. So you may not want to juice a lot of them. That being said, I don't have an issue juicing, carrots, once in a while, and including them in my mixture, but not, drinking carrot juice every single day because it's healthy. Now, in my opinion, once again, we want to think a good, better, best. Of course, making any fruit or even carrot juice is better than something out the store that you'd buy in a package, but it's not maybe as good as, juicing a lot of vegetables and then just a little fruit or, carrots in there. So basically, I'm talking about, making 100% fruit juices. Now, I do mix my fruits, and usually only apples and lemons and pears, with my standard vegetable juices, and I do feel that's alright. So what you do want to do is that you want to actually blend your fruits instead of juice them. This way you retain the fiber, which is going to slow down the absorption of the sugar in the bloodstream, or you can actually eat them instead of blend them, which you will also get the fiber. So that's definitely, in my opinion, what you should do. Number 4, do and don'ts is don't put too many leafy greens in your vegetable juice. Leafy greens, such as the collard greens here, can have a really hard flavor and, can cause vomiting and other things, especially if you're not used to it. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, the leafy greens can contain high levels of things like oxalates and other anti-nutrients that may not be so beneficial. Now, we shouldn't necessarily be scared of them because, once again, you guys are rotating them, but at the same time, you don't want to overpower your juices with too many leafy greens, especially if you're getting started. So, I recommend, for the most part, for people that are starting, no more than 25% of your glass is dark leafy green juice. And the final 75%, can be things like celery, carrots, romaine lettuce, zucchini, cucumbers, and apples to dilute the hardcore leafy greens down. Number 5, juicing do's and don'ts. This is an important one. Don't just purchase any juicer because they got an infomercial on TV or, it's inexpensive at your local department store. That could be the biggest mistake you get, and, I get customers all the time that have done this. And the juicer that they buy because the company says this is the best one and this is the last one you'll need and all this kind of marketing mumbo jumbo, that juicer may not be the best for you. Much like when you're going to go and buy a pair of shoes, right? You're not just going to, buy any pair of shoes, because one pair of shoes won't meet all your needs. Like that one pair of shoes, may not be able to go to the beach and go into the water like some, a swimming shoes can or whatever, or you can't take those shoes hiking. So when you buy shoes for their particular use. For example, if you're going hiking, you might get hiking boots. If you're a runner, you might get minimalist shoes that are really light, that have a good traction to use on the track. If you're going to the beach, you might want some beach thongs. If you're going to a wedding and you're a lady, you might want some nice, elegant, high heels or something like that. So the juicers are exactly the same way. You don't want to just haphazardly buy a juicer because somebody says it's the best. No, you want to figure out your specific needs, what you intend to juice the most, and buy the juicer that's best going to meet your needs. So, I'm not really going to go over that much in this video. I have over 200 videos on YouTube sharing my opinions on each of the styles of juicers and which one is better or worse for certain things. So what you do want to do is you want to do your research and figure out your specific needs, what you will be juicing, and more importantly, besides what you'll be juicing, other criteria that are important to you when selecting a juicer. Some other important criteria to you might be, John, how much does it cost? Does it have a long warranty? How efficient is it on juicing certain produce items? How easy is it to clean? How easy is it to use? Each juicer has their pros and cons, and it'd be like criminal for me to say, buy this juicer in all cases, it's always the best, because it's not. I'll be straight up honest with you. And in some cases, if you already own a juicer and thinking about buying another one, you might not even want to buy a new juicer. You want to check my videos. I have a video on should I buy a new juicer. If the juicer that you have now is meeting your needs and you're happy with it, and new company comes out with a brand new juicer that's revolutionary, should you buy it? No. If you're totally happy, keep the juicer. Now if you're pissed at the juicer that you're using and you don't like it, then you may want to consider an upgrade. And then I would encourage you guys to watch some of my videos to find out the juicer that's going to best meet your needs the first time without all this mumbo jumbo marketing stuff. Tip number 6. Don't haphazardly just start throwing stuff through the juicer because you've seen the dude on the infomercial or the dude on the documentary. Just throw stuff in the juicer haphazardly and juice it. Now, while you can do that and it may get good results, in my opinion, it's much more important to, be methodical. So what you do want to do is you want to pay attention to what you're juicing. Number 1, you want to select the produce at the store, in your garden, or at the farmer's market. You want to get the freshest produce possible. If you get old wilty produce, or especially mealy apples that are soft, they're just not going to juice well in any juicer. A good juicer is not going to make up for poor quality old produce. We want to be getting the produce as fresh as possible, and even if you go into some of the good health food supermarkets these days that charge a lot of money for the produce, the produce may be old and wilty. I just picked these guys out of my garden just minutes before this video, and they're nice and erect and beautiful color, nice and large. I encourage you guys actually to plant your own gardens, especially if you're going to get into juicing and be serious about it. Leafy greens can be quite expensive. 6 leaves at some upper class health food stores, that are organic may cost $3 for 6 leaves. Man, but if you plant some of these, like this is a green perennial tree collared plant, you plant it once, it grows like a tree, and it gives you leaves 365 days a year to pick and juice, so that you will no longer ever have to buy leafy greens again. And you'll be freeing yourself up to save some money and actually be able to grow a higher quality food. And also, when you want to, juice them, you just go out to the yard, pick them, come in and juice them, and you're going to get the maximum nutrition out of them. Now, aside from just picking the produce properly, it's important to prepare your produce properly. So, of course, you probably want to wash your produce, and then depending on the juicer, you may want to pre-cut the produce into smaller pieces. So with things like the leafy greens, like the collard greens, the lettuce here, and the celery, on certain juicers you do need to pre-cut them, such as the vertical single auger juices. I do recommend you pre-cut them. Now, on the other style juicers, you do not need to pre-cut them, so this may be a factor you want to take into consideration when selecting a juicer. Is how much preparation do I need to do after I buy the produce, wash the produce, and put it in? Do I need to cut it up into small pieces, or could I just jam them through there at any time? So besides preparing the produce properly, you need to feed the produce. What I find best in actually virtually every juicer out there, it's always better to rotate the produce you're feeding in the juicer. Say you're juicing apples, celery, and carrots, and some romaine leaves. You wouldn't just want to put all the carrots and then all the apples. What'll happen in that case is the carrot pulp is generally pretty dry. It'll actually get flung out of a centrifugal ejection juicer. But then when you put the apples in, it has a much more wet pulp, and that may get stuck up in the top of the juicer. So you want to juice a piece of apple, then a piece of leafy greens, a piece of celery, and then juice some carrot behind it all, and that'll help flush and keep the juicer clean. You know, every different juicer here basically requires hard fibrous material to work optimally. And you know, each juicer is just a little bit different on that respect. But in general, you know, you do need some hard fiber to help push the produce to get through the juicer, and that's why I recommend, you know, produce rotation when feeding into the machine. I do have a really good video that explains how to do that on the Omega Vert, as well as the horizontal Omega series online, and you can look those up if you're interested. It's called Best Practices Omega Vert, where I specifically go through the process of feeding things in through a vertical single auger juicer. So tip number 7, this is an important one at that. You do not want to put everything but the kitchen sink in your juices when you make them. I mean, I've done that before. You guys might have done that before. If you know, you got all this produce going bad in the fridge and you're just like, I gotta just juice it, otherwise I'm gonna lose it. Well, I want to encourage you guys to compost your fruit scraps, your food scraps, and your juice pulp when you're done, or if you have bad produce going out. But don't just put everything in the juicer, because you'll make, you know, if you put a ton of ingredients in there, you know, just like Forrest Gump said, you never know what you're going to get. And let me tell you guys, I've made some super nasty juices, but it's like, oh man, I bought that organic produce at Whole Foods, it was like $5, and I bought this and that. Man, it cost me like $10 in produce to make this juice. I'm not letting it go to waste, and I taste it, and it's like, oh man, I'm not drinking this, it's nasty. But I'm like, man, I gotta drink it because it cost me so much money, so I hold my nose and just chug it down as fast as I can. Well, that's better than not drinking it, but you know, once again, we do not want to chug our juice as fast as you can to get it in you. And the better solution is just to not make a juices with everything but the kitchen sink. So what you do want to do instead is you want to keep your juice recipe simple. Keep it down to like 5, maybe 6 ingredients at the most, so that, you know, things are a lot simpler. When they're simpler, in my opinion, they're going to digest better. Also, they're going to taste good. I do have a really excellent video entitled Free Juice Recipes for Life on how you can free yourselves of buying juicing recipe books by literally creating your own juice recipes once you guys know the recipe. Many of you ladies out there may know how to bake cookies. I have no idea how to bake cookies anymore. But you have a standard recipe. You always add the flour, you always add the eggs, you always add the sugar, and then you might add chocolate chips for the chocolate chip cookies. You might add peanut butter if you want peanut butter cookies. Juicing is the same way. Once you kind of get the hang of it, you'll be able to create your own recipes on the fly based on what's on sale at the grocery store, what's, you know, you have ripe available in your garden or whatever, so that you can get out of drinking juice recipes. In this way, you'll also be able to change up your juices all the time and get that rotation in there. So number 8 is don't make more juice than you could drink in one sitting, with an asterisk. What you do want to do instead is only make enough juice that you're going to drink at that time. You know, once you start busting open these fibrous cell walls that contains literally the water and the liquid nutrition inside the plants, then what happens is it's exposed to air. When it's exposed to air, it oxidizes. And then that's why there's, you know, beneficial properties like phytochemicals and phytonutrients in the plants to protect them from oxidation. When we juice them, we get them in the glass, we then drink them, then those antioxidants can then go work for us. Now, when you juice and you open up all these cell walls, make this bioavailable for us, it's also being able to oxidize, and you're going to lose that nutrition. So what I like to do optimally is make juice and just drink it as I need it right then and there. If I want juice later in the afternoon, I'll get the juicer out and juice again. So for that reason, you might want to get a juicer that's easy to clean so that it's just really no problem to juice later. That being said, the asterisk part is, you know, I'd much rather have you guys juice a large batch of juice in the morning. You know, keep it cold in a thermos or in a, you know, bottle that's airtight with the air sucked out or whatever, and have a good video on how to store your juices if you do need to save your juices. So that you could take it to work, because drinking a juice you made in the morning, taking it to work, and drinking it, you know, instead of eating the stuff out the candy machine or drinking a coffee, in my opinion, is far better. Once again, think good, better, best. It's best to bring your juicer to work or have a spare juicer at work and make your juices in your break room when you got some time. But, you know, if you can't do that, then bring the juice by all means, because it's definitely going to be healthier than the alternatives of what you may eat instead. That being said, it's optimal to drink the juice fresh as it's made. You know, Jay Kordich, once again, formerly known as the Juice Man, told me a story. He worked with Dr. Garnett Cheney at Stanford, and basically, by using fresh cabbage juice, they healed people with ulcers, from what he had said. And he said if they fed the cabbage juice to the people, and they were using this triple ejection juicer at the time, right after it's made, they would get the beneficial results. If they let that cabbage juice sit out for any extended period of time, they would not get the same results with it. So, literally, the nutrients are evaporating. That being said, you always want to do the best you can. So my goal is to never save my juice longer than 24 hours, if absolutely necessary. And I may save my juices only a few times a year, actually, because I like to make it fresh. Freshest is bestest, is what I like to say. So tip number 9 is simply this: do not leave your juicer dirty on the counter when you're done juicing for any length of time. What you do want to do instead is clean your juicer right after you're done using it. If you let your juicer sit out for any length of time, the carotenoids, the colors and whatnot in the fresh vegetables that you're juicing are going to stain your juicer. Plus, when pulp dries in the screen, it's harder to remove and get out. So if you clean your juicer when it's still wet, and some of these machines like the vertical single auger style juicers, they advertise them as self-cleaning by pouring some water through it when you're done juicing, which will help get it clean, but it's by no means self-cleaning. That can't help you clean out the machine. But if you clean it out while it's still wet, it's going to be a lot easier to get clean and save you a lot of time than if you put it off and let it hang out for a couple hours and the pulp gets dry in the screen and then the colors start staining the different parts. So by all means, clean it as soon as you can. If you absolutely can't clean it right after you're done juicing, you want to minimally fill up a dish tub or fill up your sink with water and soak the parts. That will then make it easier to clean when you do have some time. Tip number 10, and this is the final tip I'm going to share with you guys. What you don't want to do is juice produce after it's prime. I mean, if you got lettuce that's wilty, going bad, don't just put it through the juicer, because it's probably not going to work properly. What you do want to do instead is get the freshest produce possible. So, I do recommend growing your own garden so you could pick it fresh, juice it fresh. Fresh produce is going to juice far better than store-bought produce that's, been shipped from California to New York for 7 days on a refrigerated truck, and then in some warehouse for a couple of days, and then finally put on the shelf, and then you get to buy it. One of the things I've learned by having my own garden is if I pick greens out of my garden, because when you pick them, they're soft and tender, they have a high moisture content, and things taste better out of your garden. They're going to juice better because of the higher moisture content. As things are in refrigerators and shipped, they tend to lose moisture, and they get what I call plant rigor mortis, and they just don't juice as well. So it's very imperative, if you're getting juicers that make the highest quality juice, such as some of the low-speed juicers on the table here today, you also want to juice the highest quality produce and freshest produce. So for me, that means I grow my own garden so that I can have this produce available. If you're unable to grow your own garden outside, you can grow microgreens and sunflower greens and other, things like wheatgrass inside your house, which I always recommend you guys start growing your own food. If you can't do that, then go to a farmer's market and ask the farmers when this was harvested. Hopefully it'll be harvested that morning, and you're going to be, juicing the freshest stuff instead of the old and wilty stuff that's not going to juice well, nor is it going to give you the greatest level of nutrition. So that pretty much sums up my top 10 juicing do's and don'ts. I hope this was valuable to you, and I want to encourage you guys to, no matter what, you want to keep including more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables in your diet. The standard American barely eats 10% of their diet of fruits and vegetables. 60% is the processed foods, 25% is the animal products, and the 10% is pretty much made up of white potatoes. So we want to get these rich antioxidants, foods with the phytochemicals and phytonutrients, the foods of the colors, especially the leafy greens, the vegetables, and also the fruits into our diet. And I think juicing is an excellent way to do just that. With these tips, you're going to know more than the average person about juicing, and so that you can be successful at it. If you do need to purchase a juicer, please be sure to visit discountjuicers.com. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel here, and be sure to check my other videos where I compare juicers side by side so that you can determine the best juicer that's going to best meet your specific needs. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is John Kohler with discountjuicers.com. Be sure to visit discountjuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.